Hello, everybody. You know who it is. It's your man, Uncle Dub, Sports Wagon Podcast. You know where to find me. I'll give you the socials later. It's if you listen to any episode, you know what they are, but we'll talk about it later or we'll put them in the show notes. But here we go. Got a guest, got a return guest. And for the second time, the host of the two podcasts, Surrender Birdies and Beltway Golfer, is my man, Alex, the Beltway Golfer. Alex, where you been, man? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Woody. I appreciate you reaching out and asking me to come on. It's always a pleasure.
Um, Refresh my memory here because I feel like the time has gotten away from me, but you have been doing some traveling, my man.
Have I?
Did you go to
If
Scotland? Did you go to
I
Scotland?
did go to Scotland. That was last summer, but
That
yeah, I
was
went to
last summer.
Scotland. Yeah, that was
How
my
amazing
first
was
trip to
that?
Scotland. That was awesome.
How amazing was that?
It was really cool. That was a family trip. You know what? Was it summer? I'm trying to remember. My mind is it might have been
Hmm.
spring break. It was a little while ago. But
Hmm.
I basically did, I'm a huge golfer, obviously. Um, and Scotland is kind of a mecca for golfers with St Andrews and so many great links courses over there. Um, but this was more of a family trip. I had my kids, I had my in-laws and their kids, my mother-in-law, she's a golfer, wife is not. Um, but so it was kind of a family trip. It wasn't like your typical, you know, 4 or 8 guys going over and
Hmm.
like having a travel planner and playing these bucket list courses. I checked off one or two bucket list courses, but what a lot of it was, we were over there for like 8 or 10 days, was we would do the tourist thing during the day, and my wife and sister-in-law, or they might have some ideas of how the day was going to go. But right about lunchtime, I would go to. So my 10-year-old plays golf. I got a nephew who plays high school golf. My brother-in-law plays golf. My mother-in-law plays golf. So around lunchtime each day, I'd be on my phone looking, and I would just kind of search in the moment for 9-hole golf courses or little, local municipal golf courses that were near whatever town we were traveling in. And I was like, anybody want to get out on the golf course this afternoon? And we just find these local golf courses. So like it wasn't really planned out. But we ended up playing. I'm forgetting some of the details of the trip, but we played a lot of golf and it was cool. And we played a lot of courses where it was like, honor code kind of stuff where you just show up and put some money in a box and like no one was working there. And the golf courses were fantastic. I had a great time.
Yeah, I remember seeing that because I think you posted that picture, and I go honor system golf. That is amazing. Like, in thinking about that, are there some things about playing in Scotland that were dramatically different than playing here in the U.S.?
Um, I'm trying to think. I mean, the courses that we played a kind of a wide range of courses. I mean, I did play at St Andrews, and the day that we played, my memory's dying. I can't even remember the Jubilee course was one of the we played the Jubilee course on this day that was the windiest day I've ever personally experienced on a golf course. It's if you've ever looked at a map of St Andrews, they've got 5 courses or whatever it is, and then the famous old course is kind of in the middle of those five, and the Jubilee is actually the one that's basically on the beach. It's the most exposed. And so we had a day out there that was just it was wind that I had never experienced before on a
Mm-hmm.
golf course. And seeing, I remember one specific par three where I hit a shot that, you know, maybe I came across the ball a little bit and had some side spin. I'm sure I did. But that ball moved seemingly about 60 yards left or right on a par three.
Oh my goodness.
Just some of that was kind of amazing. But we also played a bunch of inland courses, 18 hole, 9 hole. My takeaway from it was just it was real casual and kind of welcoming. I mean, like I said, a lot of the courses, some of the courses I should say we played were um there was I'm trying to gosh, I wish I prepared a little bit better for the Scotland course. I'm forgetting this other one's name, but we played this one course where we showed up and it was like 5 or 6 of us of varying ages. I mean, the youngest was my son from 10, my mother-in-law. I don't know my mother-in-law's age, but I think she's in her in her late 60s. And we showed up, and then we go into the clubhouse, and these two guys are shooting pool. And I just kind of and I was like, hey, I got like 5 or 6 family members. We just want to get out for 9 holes. And they worked there, but they even despite that they were there, they were in the middle of their pool match, their billiards match, having a beer, and they just pointed me to the honor box and say, "Oh yeah, absolutely, welcome. You have at it. Tee box is open. Put your money over there." So even when they were working, it was casual enough that just like, yeah, just, just
Right. Yeah.
figure it out yourself.
Yeah, and that seems to be the European way. They're just so okay. They just take it all in stride for the most part. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you showed up and they had a sign up like out to lunch, taking a nap, put your money in the box, that sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Well, that's exactly what it was. There was a bunch of that, which is my speed. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Where else? So outside of you went to Scotland. What other gems have you found locally? Because like I said, I said it before and I'll say it again. You always find places, and I'm going, where the hell is this? Because you just find every little nook and cranny and find these courses. I mean, you talk about some courses that are no longer here, and you're
Sure.
finding places that I'm going, I have to find this place on my own. So what are some good cool places to play maybe in 2026?
Around here locally, that's a
Yeah.
good question. My whole shtick is trying to play, trying to have somewhat a soft finger on the pulse of what's going on in all the golf courses in the region, so I can kind of give some news and kind of give some ideas. But and a lot of times it's just whatever's on the top of my head. There's so many golf courses around here. Here's one that I was just having a conversation with about this morning, so it's top of mind. Is a little 18-hole par three course that I like a lot, called the Sterling Park Par Three out fairly close to Dulles Airport. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a little community-owned par three golf course, but 18 holes. It's got a funky little bar. It's kind of a blue collar spot. It's kind of the entrance is you wouldn't even really notice it. You go past these like youth baseball fields, and it's like back behind this weird gate. It's got a funky little driving range where it's irons only, and if you hit a club about 200 yards, the ball would actually land right in the middle of a youth football stadium, which is kind of hilarious.
I know where that is. I know exactly where that is. That's
Have you been
18
out there?
hole. I think I tried to go out there one time, but is that like that's an 18 hole?
It is. It is
Oh
18,
wow.
18 par threes.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Okay.
So that's a funky little spot. And those are the kind of spots I like a lot. Um, a lot of times, I got two kids. I'm driving around a lot. I'm trying to do a bunch of different stuff. Playing, you know, big boy 18 hole rounds of golf all the time. It's harder and harder to have time for that. Even when you're trying to, pretend that you're some kind of quasi authority on golf. Like, I play way more rounds of nine than I do of 18.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and sometimes I'll play, I'll pay for 18, or I have every intent on playing 18, and I got to bounce for whatever reason after 12 or 14. Like not playing something short of 18 holes doesn't, I don't blink my eye at that at all.
Right.
But there's a ton, I don't know. I'd have to get some thought, but there's a ton of good golf courses around here, man. The DC region with a lot of like, real golf course hardos and guys that are like really into golf course architecture and reading all about the great golf courses. The DC region oftentimes doesn't have the best reputation as far as like having these like world-class golf courses.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's got some really good golf courses. I mean, there's a lot of private golf on, close to the city, which and so finding golf that you can play, and especially in this uptick in popularity around golf that's been happening for the last 5 years, and it's getting harder and harder to find tee times. Sometimes you got to travel it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's only going to get harder, which I think, part of what we're going to talk about today is what's going on in DC. And
Oh yeah.
if those courses
Mm-hmm.
are closed for any period of time, it's only going to get harder and harder to find tee times.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of going that extra mile to find the cool courses is certainly worth it.
So kind of outside of that, I mean, you took some trip, you took a trip out of the country, you're finding courses, you're revisiting places that you love. Generally, and talking about how much you play, and I'm with you. I don't play the 18 that often. Did you, in general, have a good summer on the course in 2025?
I did. My game is a little bit all over the place. It's going in the wrong direction. 2020, I have big plans for 2026 to get back in the right direction. But yeah, I mean, I played more golf than I deserved to, so I'm in those terms, I had a great summer. I did finish it off with a trip. I don't think I posted about it on social media, but did a little buddies trip out and played some desert golf
Oh.
in, gosh, I guess it was November, and we went out and flew in and out of Las Vegas and played like Wolf Creek, which is about an hour east of
Mm-hmm.
Las Vegas, which is it's really like almost like an amusement park of a golf course where it's just like some of the craziest terrain you're ever going to see in your life. And then played another one out there in Utah called Sand Hollow, which if you enter type in Sand Hollow Golf on Instagram and you'll see some of the most like insane drone shots of these. There's a stretch of 3 or 4 holes that play right along this like cliff of red rocks that is like some of the most stunning
Oh.
just visuals that you'll ever see on a golf course. So that was cool. But as just in general, I can't complain. I had a great year on the golf course. But as far as my actual game is concerned, that's probably a different story.
Well, I think for those of us who are not getting paid to do this, I think we all
Sure.
have the same complaints or the same concerns, however you want to, complaints, concerns, however you want to
Yeah.
talk about it there. Something just that popped in my brain, kind of, one more thing about golf courses. You talked a little bit about a couple courses that were closing in particular. I think one that's where I used to live, I think it was Virginia Beach National,
Yeah.
and then here Lake Presidential. Um, Lake Presidential got sold.
Lake Presidential is not closing. It's
It
just
just got sold.
it's been sold.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
actually it's funny. I played in um this event last Friday. This is another really cool event for folks that live in Maryland. It's called the Maryland Winter Pro Am. And
Mm-hmm.
it's this group that's been it skews a little bit older, but what this group is, and I'm going to bring this back to Lake Presidential in a windy way, but what this group is during the winter months, I think it starts in December, but like December, January, February, every Friday they play at a different golf course, mostly in PG and Anne Arundel County. They go across the bay. I think they play Queenstown Harbor, maybe a couple others, but mostly PG and Anne Arundel. And all it is people show up to the golf course. You don't even have to tell them you don't have to RSVP. You have to tell them ahead of time. You pay your entrance fee, and then a whole bunch of local golf pros from those same golf courses around PG County and Anne Arundel, they also show up, right? But they don't know how many people are coming. So I think the deadline is 10 or 10:30 in the morning each Friday. And so like last Friday was at Woodmore in PG County. It's a private course in PG County, but anybody can show up to it. You don't have to be a member in like that. And if 8 pros show up, then there's 8 teams. If there's 15 pros show up, there's 15 teams. And what you do is when you pay I think it's $60 each time you play, and a bunch of that goes to prizes at the end. You give them your handicap, and then they just throw it up in an Excel spreadsheet on this big screen. And then the pros, they draft teams about 20 minutes before the scramble goes out. And so what happens is every team has got one pro, one usually pretty good player, one average player, and then it gets lower and lower. Maybe a not so good player, a higher handicap, higher handicap. But if 20 people show up and there's 5 pros, there's 4 players per team. If there's 8 pros and like 50 people show up, whatever that mass is, the groups are like 7 or 8. But nobody really knows each other unless they happen to have played together before. And because there's a pro in each group, there's no funny business. There's no cheating going on, and it's a really fun group. Bringing this back, it's last Friday we did that, and one guy in my group was actually a part-time employee at Lake Presidential, so talking about it. So Lake Presidential, first of all, it was sold back in 2020, I believe, for I think just under $2 million.
Okay.
At least that's what the listing was. I don't know if the final price was public or not. It was just listed again a few months back, or maybe over the summer or late fall, for like $11 million, a
Mm.
massive jump.
Mm.
So I posted that on social media. Is Lake Presidential worth that? Will the new owners, like, what will happen to the new owners trying to recoup that kind of investment if they're paying $11 million for Lake Presidential? Does that mean rates are just going to continue to skyrocket? Any case, this gentleman that I played with at last Friday said that maybe something happened with the purchase, or it's on the rocks whether or not that sale is actually going to go down. So TBD at Presidential, but it's not. I don't think there's any plans to close it down at all. It's still going to
Mm,
remain a golf course.
okay, okay. And did they say Virginia Beach National or not?
Virginia, I think that's still. I haven't been following it as closely as I should have, but I believe that's still like bouncing around between like city council meetings and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's still a TBD because Virginia Beach National is owned by the city of Virginia Beach, and they are basically trying to sell it to a developer who will keep a portion of the golf course, but basically develop 3 or 4 holes so they can make a bunch of money and then still appease all the people because I guess it has to stay a golf course.
Mm,
But a lot of people are pissed off about that.
yeah, that's crazy. Well, hope that works out somehow because it's interesting how if you remember Redgate and Rockville, how the plans for that was supposed to be to sell the property, redevelop it, and it never happened. So I'm
Sure.
hoping that proceeds
That
and like that.
this topic fascinates me, and I love chatting about it. But it's this whole dynamic of golf courses and their land worth, and especially privately owned golf courses, not necessarily private, but privately owned, a lot of them public, in that like and then the waves and the fluctuation of the popularity of golf. One of the challenges right now is before COVID, golf was in a big dip. The popularity and the amount of people playing was going down. And so a lot of golf courses weren't making much money, and a lot of them either closed or sold. And then COVID hits, and the popularity of golf skyrockets, and it's continued for the last 5 years. But all that inventory of golf courses and tee time availability, because all these golf courses closed between 2010 and 2020, it's harder and harder to get a tee time.
Hmm.
And now you've got all these. There's just so many factors that make it tougher and tougher for a privately owned golf course not to sell. Whether it's somebody coming in that wants to build a data center and knows that land is worth God knows what, or just townhomes. I mean, the reality is most golf courses um, can't make anywhere close to what they could get selling to a developer that's going to flip it into townhomes or some massive data center than they could by keeping a golf course selling tee times. Most people want it to stay golf courses. In a lot of cases, I'm sure the owners do too. But when some developer comes by and flashes you some massive check, it's hard. And so then it becomes, especially around these urban areas, like around DC, and as the sprawl continues and people are really into golf, and we keep every year we keep losing more and more golf courses. They're not going to start. What's not going to happen? They're not going to start knocking down houses to build a golf course. That's not going to happen.
No, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It feels as if they're going to build more houses, but they're going to build more houses and golf courses, obviously, because to your point, the sprawl, people just keep moving further and further and further out because the affordability, the closer you are to DC, for those of you who don't know, it's super expensive to live close to DC, but the further you move out, it's cheaper, but it's getting saturated pretty much.
Sure.
So,
Oh yeah.
So I listened to your interview with Barry Savugla and Rick Mace. So great episodes about the NLT lease issues, the revocation, and a couple thoughts on that. I thought about the end game because everything with this regime, I think about the end game. And at the end of the day, I think you sort of touched on this. It's really where it's trying to appease ego at the expense of the residents of DC who love to play golf. That's kind of my takeaway from this. Like what the end game here. It's ego. We're stroking an ego. I mean, is that kind of in the ballpark here?
Yeah, except we're not doing it. I don't know if we're stroking an ego.
Well, you know what I mean. You know what I mean, right?
I do know what you mean.
Right.
But
right.
it's I think it's somebody stroking their own ego.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But yes, I agree with you.
Yeah. But the bigger thought here is, all the courses that are at risk of whatever's going to happen to them. One of the things that I, two things. So, first of all, I thought about the economics of this. In other words, we sort of touched a little bit on that supply and demand, that as golf has peaked, now the supply and demand has changed. So, if something were to happen to these courses, does it affect courses in Maryland and Virginia? In other words, are we looking at an issue where tee time prices? I mean, the supply is going to dry up, or we're going to get fewer tee times. Do we look at now the prices will increase if people have to leave DC to play golf because it's right there and they enjoy playing those courses? I mean, I played Langston a couple times, enjoy that course, but it's like this is going to affect a lot of people economically, and it's more so the golfers as opposed to the courses.
Well, yeah, I think without a doubt. I mean, just what you just said, supply and demand, the inventory of golf courses. If so, twofold. First, if the golf courses, so assuming everything it continues on the path that it's going now, which is um, the administration takes over these golf courses and starts a renovation process fairly soon, which seems like that's going to happen. Nobody knows because they haven't really given a lot of information about it. But first question I would have is, okay, are they going to close down all three golf courses at the same time and do these renovations? Like right now, Rock Creek Golf is closed. They'd already started some renovations there. National Links Trust did. National Links Trust plan all along, which was all part of the bid and the proposal that they won through the National Park Service. Part of that was that the golf course renovations were going to be sequential, so that Rock Creek Park would be first, Langston would be second, and East Potomac would be third. I think I have that right. So the idea that if everything goes according to plan, no, only one course would ever be closed at any given time. So the first question is, okay, it certainly seems, especially since the administration, the Department of Interior, and Trump haven't given a lot of information as far as any plans, other than the speculation that, okay, Fazio is going to be the architect that he brings in, and he's got his own um, golf course operators that work at maybe some of his clubs, that he's going to bring in a company like that. But beyond that, there's no real plan. First off, that they haven't communicated from any information. Even the fact that when they canceled National Links Trust lease on New Year's Eve, they basically had to ask National Links Trust, okay, we just basically fired you. We just terminated your lease. I know you guys, I'm sure, are really pissed off, but hey, do you want to keep the golf courses open? It's up to you. If you don't, then we're going to shut down the courses probably tomorrow, and everyone's going to get fired. And until we kind of figure out a plan and form a new organization and sign a new lease. And so National Links Trust thankfully stepped in and said, well, okay, well, even though we're effectively fired, we'll continue to run the pardon me. We'll continue to run the golf courses on an interim basis so that staff can continue to work, and so that the local golf course community has a place to play. So all that points to the idea that the administration doesn't really have a plan yet. I mean, they can come up with one, but they don't have a plan yet. So my first question is, okay, are the golf courses all going to be closed at the same time? If those golf courses are all closed at the same time for 2026, maybe going into 2027, could be 2 seasons, especially when he's talking about turning East Potomac Park into a U.S. Open world-class venue. Like that doesn't happen overnight. I don't find that believable. But even if he were to do that, that's going to take more than 1 season. So then, yes, then you've got the three most convenient public golf courses to the largest body of population and in theory golfers inside the city, that now all have to find a different place to play. And now they all get to drive out, and then of course that makes tee times that are already really difficult to get because of the popularity of golf that much harder. And then long term, once those courses are reopened, are they going to be so expensive? Assuming he reopens all three, and he's already talking about making them U.S. Open quality. So what does that mean as far as cost and beginners and high school teams and juniors and people that are just like casual golfers that do it just for exercise or play every once in a while? Then again, they're all pushed out to 9-holers, or in Fairfax County, PG County, Montgomery County, the Sligo Creeks and Paint Branches and Henson Creeks and Jefferson districts of the world. And it just becomes harder and harder to get on those courses. And some of those courses are in danger. I mean, Paint Branch Golf Course, I think they're safe for now, but they were under danger from expansion from the University of Maryland just a couple years ago. So, it's a it's a situation that doesn't. I'm not sure what the end game is.
Yeah, but more, and then the bigger end game here is you think about the historic nature of Langston, and it would not surprise me in any way, shape, or form if Langston gets targeted because again, Langston, all the history of black golf in DC, current and present, as well as what they have the Jack Vardaman program, which is an amazing program that provides scholarships to these young people. Many of them are they're caddies, they work at the course, they do such great work, and considering the climate that we're in, the Jack Vardaman program could potentially be on the chopping block, which is unfortunate. Which is just, unfortunate is the understatement. It just
Sure.
angers me, that is a potential outcome here.
Yeah. Again, I mean, the reality is there's no information. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that National Links Trust did really well is they put together this like meticulously thought out plan for all three golf courses, that had kept in mind history, the culture, the differences of the three. East Potomac was all about the restoration of the original golf course layout, which was a reversible design by Walter Travis back in the 1920s. And to bring that back because that's actually a thing that's quasi popular these days and is really unique and it'd be really cool to see. But at Langston, all of their plans revolved around the existing culture, history, and community that's at Langston, and the kind of the African American golf culture and history that has existed there. Like that was at the forefront of like all of their plans. Now, will the Trump administration, the DOI, could they keep all that? Maybe, but nobody knows. There's no information, or they
Mm-hmm.
or they might close the golf course, or they
Right.
might turn it into a high end place that he also wants to bring in U.S. Open. And I think the reason a lot of people are so concerned is obviously Trump's track record on a lot of the stuff. A, but B, there's just no information, and this is so important to so many people, and to just get rid of the existing leaseholder that still had 45 years left on a lease, and an extremely well supported plan, certainly for Langston, but for all the golf courses. And now the future is totally unknown. It's troubling.
Has there been any potential talk from National Links Trust potentially to take legal action? I mean, that seems to be the only
Yeah.
thing that has worked to some degree right now. The judiciary is the only branch of our government that seems to have a clue.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think National Trust has been in kind of a tough spot, throughout this entire process, trying to maybe play ball a little bit with the Trump administration once they caught wind that he was interested, and then now that their lease is terminated, but they're still like on this interim basis, still operating the courses. It feels like there's an air of if they do something right now, then the Trump administration could kick them out and shut down the golf courses the very
Mm-hmm.
next day, anytime
Mm-hmm.
there's a disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I can't imagine in any world where National Links Trust does not sue the administration. It was already reported, I think, a few days ago that they hired, I'm forgetting the name of the law firm, but they did hire a law firm to try to work through some of this stuff. Some of the conversations that I've had with folks in the know, I've got that there's a sense that even if they did take them to the court and they did win, the result of that would likely not be that like, oh, they just get their lease back.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like once the lease is terminated, then that would restart some entire process. So I hope that's speculation a little bit, and I hope that's not true. But I think the fear is that even if they did go to litigation and hold things up and even win, that maybe it's just some type of compensatory damage to the organization,
Mm-hmm.
since the lease is canceled. But the reality is I don't know. But to answer your question, yes, I think there's going to be litigation.
Okay. But again, like you said, if they were to win, it's like they're back to square one because then the question is, well, do we get another lease? And more likely they don't.
Right. Yeah. How does that look, especially while this administration is still in office?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that litigation takes a year. And like, I'm not a lawyer. That might be way, way under or way, I don't know. But let's just hypothetically say it takes a year and a judge says that this lease was terminated unjustly. Um, then is Trump's Department of Interior just going to reissue the lease to National Links Trust and just let them do their thing? I have a hard time believing that based on how this administration operates. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I think this story is far from over, and there's going to be a lot more twists and turns. Because the other thing is, assuming the administration does move in, and there's bulldozers down there in the next 3 or 4 months, and they start Trump's version of the renovation. How long does that take? And then what does it look like when he's out of office in 3 years? Because that was the whole point of why the National Links Trust got this 50-year lease, which is somewhat rare with the National Park Service to begin with, is leading up to 2020, there was this other group that was in charge of the 3 golf courses called Golf Course Specialists, Inc. And the way their contract and relationship worked with the National Park Service, it was as a concessionaire's contract, which didn't have the same um, latitude, or that's not the right word, but they didn't have the ability to do like large scale renovations. They were a concessionaire, and at some point their contract just became a year over year, like a 1 year renewing lease every year. So they didn't really have the capability or the means to do any kind of major renovations. So the courses just kind of languished, and the operator was kind of a lame duck operator. Their contract was never more from beyond the year they were in. And so the whole point of putting this RFP together in 2020 by the National Park Service was, okay, we want to find an operator, a long-term operator who has the bandwidth to really make these golf courses great and turn them into something that would be great for the city. And so now that the Trump administration is taking over, how does that look going forward? Are they going to form a new organization that then signs a new lease with the National Park Service so that when the current administration is done, that new organization is then essentially what National Links Trust was, and they are the leaseholder and operator for the foreseeable future? I think that's likely what's going to happen. But if that organization has strong ties to Trump, the Trump organization, or maybe even Trump family members, or who knows, then the next administration, the next president, whoever's in charge of the Department of Interior 3 or 4 years from now, if that administration is not aligned with Trump, if it's a moderate Republican, if it's a Democrat, and they start unwinding a lot of the things that Trump's doing, are they going to let that organization stand? I mean, I imagine golf courses aren't going to be, day one of the next administration, but they'll be on the list somewhere. And so based on how this has all gone down, I have a hard time believing that the next administration, isn't going to attempt to address this in some way 4 years down the road. And then I keep going on and on, but then the fear becomes that these golf courses just become a political pawn every 4 or 8 years, whoever's in the administration,
Right,
which would
right,
be
right,
really unfortunate.
right. But see, going back to what you're saying, if this had any links to Trump, it's going to be complete grift. It's going to be complete grift. And
Yeah,
and
I
and and,
mean,
and, and, that's, and that's part of it. And that's part of it. I mean, sure, we want to do these things and make these courses all fantastic and US Open ready and yada yada yada, but there's grift here. Come on. Let's keep it real. It's been grift, it's been grift since day one. This is just grift.
yeah, well, you're certainly not getting an argument from me. I mean, as far as these courses are concerned, to me, Trump's just he's so obsessed with getting credit for everything. I mean, that's why he's slapping his name everywhere. And so he just wants to be able to take credit from this. Is he also motivated by money related to these? That remains to be seen. I mean, I think that's why he's talking about turning into a U.S. Open course, because then, you know, in some way his organization or family members, beyond his term in office, maybe can benefit from the actual operation of these golf courses. And if he thinks that there's real money tied to it, I think it's more so he's just obsessed with, taking credit for everything. And he wants to be able to say when he's done that, these are his golf courses. And I agree. There's going to be grift. It's just a matter of what level of grift. What level of grift?
Right. 100%. 100%. Um, all right, well, let's shift gears here. So I kind of want to get one other thing that has kind of hit the world of golf, not local, but kind of professional golf.
Yeah,
So Brooks Koepka, this
sure.
guy, okay, so he's coming back to the PGA Tour, and when I saw that news, I was reminded of some comments I made about Live some time ago. Is the Live ship sinking?
Um, it certainly seems that way. I mean, did for me personally, it's like, did the live ship ever get out to sea? Like it seemed like it was still, I mean, did a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, I personally never got into live. When they were at RTJ here locally in Gainesville, I went out to that. The it's just the thing that's so striking about live when you go there in person is just how much money they put into it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's mind blowing. I mean, when you go, if you didn't know anything about live, you didn't know anything about the backstory, you go to one of their tournaments, you'd be like, wow, this is actually really well run. I mean, they've got all kinds of stuff going on, stuff for kids, stuff for that, blah, blah. I mean, it's like, but then you take a step back and you're like, man, like they barely have a television contract. The amount of money they're paying these guys, there's not that many people here. I mean, they're just gonna be hemorrhaging money, hemorrhaging money, and nobody's really watching it. Nobody cares about the results. People are really only intrigued by it because of this battle between Live and PGA Tour.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's some intrigue there, and they got some big names, but no one gives a rat's ass about who won or what team won. Like I've yet to meet a golfer that actually gives a shit. Like
Correct.
nobody cares. And so
Right.
now, once you start losing Kepka, and there's rumors about DeChambeau, and it's hard to believe that Rahm's excited to be there. The only big name golfer that seems to be excited is Cam Smith because they have an event in Australia and he goes back there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it certainly seems like the ship is sinking, but who the heck knows? I mean, they seem to have, endless amounts of money. So, who knows how long it will go on. And it's coming back to Virginia in a couple months. It's going to be at Trump National DC in Sterling in May.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that'll be interesting. There'll be people there. I mean, the events are. I mean, they're fun. I mean, there's music blaring. It's all the stuff you would expect. I mean, There's actually more fun things to do at the Live Golf event than there are PGA Tour events because a lot of it's like not necessarily watching the golf because the golf is less serious.
Mm-hmm.
But as an actual league, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a joke.
But I heard DeChambeau, Rahm, and Young have basically said they're in. They've sort. I think they re-signed, or they basically said we're not going anywhere, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But
DeChambeau's was at least the clip I saw was unenthusiastic at best is how he answered the question. But
oh my God, how do you? How are you all in on something that is not even remotely sustainable? I heard they were giving away tickets. It's
sure.
like you're not selling tickets, like you said, no TV contract,
Yeah, but
and
I mean the money is still so insane.
mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe there's an element. I mean, who knows? I mean, who knows what those contracts look like? Is there an element of fear if you break those contracts? Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, considering the source of the money, I would not be surprised if there was a little bit of,
Right.
I don't know, should I do this or should I not do this? Should I fear for my life? I mean, I would not be surprised about that at all. But I mean, they're just throwing money down a black hole and getting nothing out of it. Again, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe because I have no money. If I had that much money, I'd be like, look, I need some return on this, or I'm out of here. Like it just blows my mind how people are
Yeah, but I mean,
just
I'm not the right person to talk to about this, but they're not making it. They're not getting anything out of it from a profit standpoint and from a golf league, a long-term sustainable golf product. But someone can make the argument that this has all been worth it from a normalization of the Saudi regime and from a sports washing angle. And somebody might look at that and do the math and say, yeah, this was for what they're actually trying to achieve. This was worth it. I don't know. I'm not the right person to talk about that, but
no. I mean, I think you're right. I think it was in some respects it's calculated.
Right. Of course.
because Americans don't care. We just want to see the flash and the glitz. We don't care about the fact that most people oppose this regime, but if they're giving you a bunch of money, oh whatever, we don't care. It was calculated in that regard. So
Sure.
yeah, there you go.
That being said, I'm still gonna get my media pass for the
yeah,
Live
yeah,
Virginia.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'll report back from there to see what I see. But
yeah. You probably not a lot of people, I'm sure.
I mean, again, there were a decent amount of people at the one this past spring, compared to a PGA Tour event. I don't know, but in part because they're it's a shorter amount of time. Where a PGA
Right.
Tour event, because they're everybody starts on one, their tee times might start at 7 or 8 in the morning, and the last tee
Mm.
time might not be till early in the afternoon. This is a much more condensed because it's a shotgun start, and
Mm-hmm.
so it can seem like there's more people there because everybody's there at the same time over a 3 or 4 hour period.
I mean, and literally what they want is just waste management every weekend. They just want that waste
Sure.
management atmosphere every weekend for Live.
Right.
That's literally what they
Right.
want. That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's crazy. Um, Kind of looking back over the PGA season, the Ryder Cup. What happened, man? Like, give me thoughts on the Ryder Cup. Like, yeah, how that went straight to hell.
Um, let's see. I haven't thought about the Ryder Cup in a minute. I mean, it seems like the setup was a disaster. Bethpage is a super hard golf course, and they kind of made it a lot easier um, than it should have been, and it played right into Europeans' hands. I think the unruly crowds also played in the European hands. There've been plenty of interviews. There was a recent one just a couple days ago with John Rahm on a podcast talking about how just the constant beratement from the American and the New York fans kind of brought the European team close together, which is, doesn't take a professional psychologist to see that one coming. And
Right.
and they played better. So I mean, I think that was I think those two things were the kind of crux of it, and they just, they kicked ass. The Americans didn't show up
You think Keegan Bradley's back in 27?
as
Captain.
as a captain. No, no.
Yeah, because
I think he got a raw deal to begin with. He should I mean, the whole looking back on it, like just how he got asked to be, the captain. There was no discussion with him prior. They kind of almost like pulled him out of a hat, and it kind of came off like they were doing this in part because they felt bad that he got jobbed out of a spot 2 years prior.
mm-hmm.
And he went to St. John's as a New York connection, and they just said, okay, yeah, he's great. Um, but then he brought in all this unnecessary drama when he started playing well, or whether or not he should be on the team and everything. And I think the American side did everything wrong, every possibility they could as it related to the Ryder Cup.
I feel like I don't remember all the team members off the top of my head, but when I remember reading the roster, I'm going, this roster doesn't do it for me. Like I wasn't excited about this roster.
Yeah.
Like I kind of felt like that was kind of part of it. Like some of these names, there were some upstart names. There were guys who earned their way either through winning majors, whatever, whatever. But then I think some of the captains picks, I'm going, I don't know. I don't know if these guys are going to work out or not.
Yeah. I mean, the Europeans got some, they show up for it seems like they care about the Ryder Cup more than the Americans, and they've got some great players over there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. Um, what about this season? So PGA, I mean, when they start showing Masters commercials in January, I get concerned, or I've never seen that before. But you got any hot takes this year?
Is that
Who you think is gonna win big this year, or like majors for the majors?
I don't know. I don't have any super hot takes. I mean, as far as I haven't even I don't. I'll be honest. I mean, I don't follow the PGA Tour as obsessively as a lot of other golf fanatics do. I certainly watch and I
Mm-hmm.
pay attention to everything, but I'm not like I'm not watching 4 rounds every weekend.
No, 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 not me.
Yeah.
I just watched the I just watched the
Yeah.
majors. I just watched the majors.
Honestly, like I take everything back to this local stance. I'm just like I'm such a homer in so many respects that like when I'm excited about this PGA Tour, there are two people that I care about on the PGA Tour now more than anybody else. And they're the local guys. Will
Okay.
Denny McCarthy get a win? He's come
Okay.
close several times. Will 2026 be the year that Denny gets off the hump and gets a win? And number two is Michael Brennan, who's
Okay.
this unbelievable story. If your listeners don't know about him, who's this absolutely stud of a young kid, grew up in Leesburg, and won a bunch of amateur tournaments around here. Won the Mid Atlantic Am, I think 3 times.
Oh
Went to
wow.
Wake Forest, tied Arnold Palmer's record for wins at Wake Forest, and then last year played on the PGA Tour Americas, which is essentially like the third level. You got PGA Tour, Corn Ferry, and then the PGA Tour Americas. Dominated on the PGA Tour Americas.
Mm-hmm.
Had just accepted or had just qualified to get his card on the Corn Ferry for next year, and then gets a sponsors invite to the Bank of Utah Championship and wins the thing by I forget how many strokes he won by. So now he's on the PGA Tour this year, and he's a
Nice.
monster. He's like his swing is like unbelievable. So I think he's like 23 years old or something like that.
Mm.
But he just leapfrogged the Corn Ferry Tour, and I think by most people's measures, DC area or not, he's like the rookie to watch on the PGA Tour. So like seeing what he does and can he win again? I mean, he's already how many years has Denny McCarthy been on tour? It doesn't have a win yet. Michael Brennan's already got a win, and it was like his second or third tour event. He qualified for the U.S. Open last year as well.
Wow.
But so watching him and seeing what he can do in 2026, that's what I'm really excited about, him and Denny.
That's cool. Wow. I'm gonna have to keep my eye out for him. I did not know. I've heard of Den McCarthy. I've heard
Sure.
of him, but the other gentleman, oh wow. Okay, I'm gonna check him out.
Go
And
watch this. Go watch. Punch in YouTube Bank of Utah Championship from I guess it was in October,
mm-hmm.
and he was actually playing a course really close to where I did that trip I mentioned earlier out near Sand Hollow.
Mm-hmm.
And watch some of his highlights. Like he was a sponsors invite and had no chance to win that, and I think he won by 4 or 5 strokes. I mean, it was a dominant performance. So
Dang.
he's going to be a force on the PJ Tour.
That is awesome, dude. All right. Sounds good. Well, I mean, well, Alex, man, that's all I had, man. I mean,
I
I
love
just
it.
wanted to, kind of pick your brain and catch up with you. But oh, you know what? There is one more thing.
Yeah,
We gotta play this year. We gotta play this year.
let's do it.
We gotta play this year. I don't know when, but we gotta play this year. I think you may have frozen up there.
Oh,
you,
yeah,
you froze for a second. You're good. You're
yeah.
good. You're
We
good.
I heard we got to play this year. I don't know,
Yeah.
but yes, absolutely. Let's play. And the last time I seen you on a golf course was that event that I hosted. Was that Bretton Woods?
No. 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 The other one. The one in Virginia.
Oh, Mount
The
Vernon.
bankroll. The bankroll. Mount Vernon. Yes. Yes.
Mount
Yes.
Vernon. Yes, yes.
Mount
That's
Vernon.
last time I seen you on a golf course and we didn't play together. So
Yeah.
let's get out and play this year for sure.
Are
100%.
you gonna do any more events?
I want to. I probably will. So right now I'm really focused on I got a team working on we're coming out with a print magazine this spring.
Okay.
Beltway Golfer magazine.
Okay. Okay.
So that's where all my focus and effort is going in right now.
Okay.
If that gets legs, then yes, I'll get back into some events.
Okay.
Um, I did like whatever it was, 2 or 3 events, maybe more. And I made some mistakes in just the way I ran them, and they were a lot of work. And um, there wasn't a tremendous amount of upside the way that I ran them, and that was a me issue because of I made some
Mm-hmm.
mistakes. So I'd
Mm-hmm.
love to start doing them again and building some of that community that way.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. I'm excited about the magazine. Stay tuned. I'm gonna make some more announcements about it in the next couple weeks.
Okay. All right. I'll keep an eye out for that. But listen, Mount Vernon. Now you tell me, oh, I made some mistakes, but okay, you learn from those mistakes. But everybody had a blast at Mount Vernon. I can tell you, I knew I had a blast. So whatever mistakes you made, we have no idea that you made them until you tell us. So it's fine. So it's all good.
I'll tell the mistakes I made where I spent too much money instead of trying to make a couple bucks. That was the main mistake.
Okay. Okay. So economic restraint is the goal here. That is the goal. Economic
Yes,
restraint.
yes,
There you
yes,
go. Okay.
yes. But
Good.
yeah,
So
that was a fun time.
we know the issue. Now we just got to fix it. It's all good. I hear you. Okay, man.
That's right.
All right. Well,
No, this has been great, man. I really appreciate you having me on. It's always always fun to chat with you, Woody.
yeah, man. Thank you for coming through. I appreciate it. And we'll definitely see each other in the course this summer without question. But I'll reach
Let's do
out
it.
and we'll get something going.
Let's
Well,
do it.
ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you listening, and thank Alex again for coming through. And until I talk to you again, make sure you continue to take care of yourself, each other, and as I always tell you, remember to drink your water and mind the business that pays you. Peace.